I thought that version 1.2 has been really good, to be honest. We've had some pretty good events: Caesar, Bernice, Lucy, Sons of Kaladin, that crazy lore bomb at the very end. We got lots of quality of life updates like team presets, but 1.3 is looking even more crazy. So today, my DGens, hello, let's talk through what version 1.3 of Zenless is looking like and what exactly it means for, well, both you and me, of course, because I also play the game. And before we go anywhere, Virtual Revenge is the code. Redeem it ASAP, as always, 24-hour limit on it. Probably a lot less from when you see this video. Let's get into it. And so 1.3 is going to introduce us to section 6, where we'll get to meet the characters and take a peek into what exactly it is that they do. That said though, the main story with Pearl Man, as well as that sacrifice thing like inside the monument, that is probably going to be put on hold. I think it's going to be similar to like 1.2, Tour de Inferno. It's going to be like a self-contained story. The main story continuation is probably going to be from 1.4 onwards. That out of the way, we've got two new characters, starting off with Yanagi Electric Anomaly. For her weapon, she uses a Naginata, which is actually just straight sick. But what's got me really excited about this character is actually the stance switching, right? Because it adds a level of complexity into her kit. I'm personally a massive fan of this kind of stuff because I like complex characters like Sparkle from Star Rail, who is definitely racist. She also has this like personal disorder effect where she can disorder against herself, which means that she's self-sufficient, kind of like Bernice, right? And I'm really liking this design decision where these anomalies, yeah, you could play them disorder, but they can also play by themselves. And because of this personal disorder, it also actually looks like Mono Electric could be a very viable team. And so lastly, we have her additional ability being triggered by either Anomaly or Electric, which is utterly fantastic because section 6, the only one that exists right now, is Sokaku, and we do not want to be using Sokaku with our Yanagi. Alright, and so what is really cool with Yanagi's release is that we will now have a limited DPS for every single element, which means though that they are not going to hold back in Shiyu defense anymore. Like, we're going to start seeing those robots, and so this is it. This is elemental coverage. But also, because she's Electric Anomaly, it's quite likely that she is going to work with Bernice. And I personally think that this is actually pretty brutal, especially because Bernice straight into Yanagi, that's a lot of gemmies, my friends. MiHoYoverse just squeezing the shit out of us. Got to get those shekels, got to pump those monthly revenue numbers. And then for character number 2, we've got Lighter, Fire, Stun. Now, the summary of Lighter is that he punches enemies and he stuns them pretty hard. But most importantly, he specifically enables fire and ice characters. We'll talk about that in a second. So the first thing that I noticed was that his kit is kind of built around this ora fast punching thing, which has a lot of impact and a lot of stunning, right? And to get to this ora, you need to charge up his bar and get to the 5th basic attack, which does mean a ramp up time, right? You got to use basic 1, basic 2, basic 3, 4, and then you go da 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 da. But what I did see in the special program is that he's actually able to cancel into the ora, like a dodge cancel straight into ora, or even a quick assist into the ora. Massive fan of this kit design, because if we had to go like basic 1 into 2 into 3 all the way to 5 and then ora, man, I would say that that's a crappy experience. And then he's got the reduce enemy ice and fire resist, and on top of that, a general stun time extension, which is fantastic. That's a fantastic generic buff. But let's go back to that fire and ice resist debuff, because it's kind of weird, right? It's like somebody would write a song about fire and ice, but it's not actually that weird considering section 6 is coming up. Miyabi might be coming soon. And so my conclusion with Lighter is that everything seems really good on paper, and he also seems really straightforward to play. It's probably going to be like canceling into the ora whenever you can, otherwise charge up the bar. And a simple character is always a good thing because it means it's harder to make mistakes. Now, in terms of their banners, they didn't actually show the A ranks, so here we are on the posting, and what you're going to see is you're going to see Ambi and Billy for Yanagi, and scrolling down for Lighter, we are going to have Ben and Corrin. To be honest, it's kind of like whatever, right? Because no matter what happens, our A rank pool is just a little bit too small right now. So we're always going to have like reruns into these kinds of characters. But the good thing about all of this is that if you have been playing for a while, then it's quite likely you're going to have these characters maxed out and these characters maxed out, which means that your additional pools, your duplicates on these guys, they're going to turn into refunds, right? And that 75 soft pity is actually going to be 68. And so that's only a good thing. So my DGens, rejoice. All right, moving on, we do have another special episode similar to the Jane and Seth story, but this time it will be centered around Yanagi. We'll also get a chance to try her out, which is nice, but the final implications of this are more gemmies, more EXP to push you to those breakpoints, to push you to level 30, level 40, level 50 to farm those next stages. Now, there is one thing I do have to point out though, and it's that Miyabi's model has been updated, and you can see she actually looks a lot more in line with the rest of the characters, which is really cool. I actually think she looks like a lot cuter now, so you know, I'm gonna jump into the Miyabi cult, but of course, Ella #1, boys. But speaking of Miyabi, what I am most excited about is actually the fact that there is a Shadow Miyabi. Now, this one does look different to the Shadow copies that we have seen so far, but I'm hoping that we're going to be able to fight against a Shadow Miyabi, because holy crap, Shadow Jane is still absolutely my favorite boss fight in the whole game. Just so freaking aggressive, so much pressure, so threatening, and just so fun. Moving on, Lighter is going to have an agent story, which looks incredibly awesome, but on top of that, we'll have a combat showcase as well. For our purposes, in terms of benefits, again, more gemmies, more resources. And then we've got Baddie Boo as well as Night Boo. Now, these guys are actually super interesting. Well, in particular, I'm talking about Night Boo, because Baddie Boo looks pretty standard, right? He's like a fire type Bang Boo, but Night Boo, what he does is he drops stars around the field, and when you pick them up, you actually get energy. Now, without the numbers, this kind of mechanic is actually way better than how Butler does it, right? Because you're not paying attention to Butler. Butler's gonna cook up those pancakes and he's just gonna give energy to like somebody random. But with Night Boo, it's like a lot more obvious and telegraphed, so you can actually switch into the character and go get your energy. And what is also nice about Night Boo is that we will be getting him fully maxed out for free from the new game mode. And then as usual, we will be getting the 10 free pulls for the limited banner as well as the Bang Boo banner. But then we get into like the really juicy stuff, right? And the first one is Simulated Battle Trial, which in summary is an endless tower mode. Now, this is the first time that we have seen an endless tower system in any MiHoYoverse game. And those of you who have played other gachas will be similar with these kinds of mechanics, right? But in summary, we battle and we battle floor by floor. We go up the floors, ascend the tower, but each time our characters, their HP is actually carried over as you progress, and you will only get healed at certain checkpoints, right? Maybe it's like floor 10, floor 20, floor 30, whatever. And what this does though, what it means to us is that it gives us 3 options to try to clear this kind of content. 1, you either reset until you get a good run, you don't lose too much HP, whatever. 2, you actually just get good and dodge, dodge, dodge. But number 3, and I hope you guys already thought of this, it's actually just time to build your defense characters to give you shields, like your Seth, like your Ben, like your Caesar. And then we've got another new end game mode, Mystery of Arpeggio Fault. This thing is essentially a full-blown TV mode, and it looks like an RPG. Now, they've essentially just said, okay, let's make TV mode its own thing and then tune it up, right? Let's like put a lot of design into it, forget about the combat. Don't mix the TV with any combat. Now, I have mixed opinions about that, but I'm always down to give it a go. So I will reserve judgment until I've actually played it. Now, the significance of both the Endless Tower and the Arpeggio TV mode is that these are end game modes, right? Therefore, what I am expecting is that these 2 modes will be updated as time goes on, just like your simulated universe in Star Rail. So this is absolutely going to influence our choices in terms of investment into characters, because we can't just think about Shiyu defense anymore. We also need to think about Endless Tower and Arpeggio. And the last major event for 1.3 is Virtual Battlefield Mayhem. Now, I think that this absolutely makes use of the strongest parts of this game, right? The boss battles, the 1v1s, it's what really brings out the best of Zenless, right? These feel incredibly epic. And so I'm super glad to see this, right? Like, to be honest, and I would like your opinion on this, right? I don't really care about like clearing out shitty small mobs, but when you lock in on like a boss and it's just kind of like one-on-one, it feels freaking crazy. Now, all of that out of the way, we do have a few more casual events, like taking photos of Bangboos. We've got a food truck style event. We're helping out a dapper Bangboo just by literally doing your weeklies, all of which are going to get you your standard rewards. I'm talking the gemmies, I'm talking the upgrade materials, I'm talking the dennies. Now, the most important part of all of this are the upgrade materials, because if you are going to be pre-farming for either Yanagi or Lighter, then just make sure that you take these rewards into account when you're kind of calculating how much you need to pre-farm, because you might overfarm. It's happened about like twice for me. And on the topic of overfarming, we've also got the double combat simulation, which you just got to take into account for the same reasons. And to just round all of that out, we also have a double disc drop. This will be pretty good, especially if you haven't pre-farmed for Yanagi and Lighter. In terms of quality of life, I'm not going to go into each one of them, but the TLDR is that they've rearranged a bunch of different menus. They've made it easier to kind of dismantle, but also automatically craft your upgrade materials so that you can kind of like skip steps. As a result, you're going to save a lot of time, right? And they've also added a little bit extra for cosmetics, because you've got decorations you can buy and put into your display stand in your bedroom. And on top of that, we'll be getting a title system, which is pretty cool. It's actually feeling more and more like a traditional gacha. However, in all of these quality of life updates, there is one particular one that stands out, and it's the disc conversion system. So today, when you craft 10 purple discs, you would always get at least 2 gold discs, sometimes a little bit more, but normally it's 2. What they have done though, is that they've introduced a way to merge your purple disc materials into gold disc materials, so that instead of getting 2 gold discs per 10, if you use the new system, you are now guaranteed at least 3, and it's actually a little bit more than 3 per 10. So this is absolutely a buff, very nice. That's all I can say. I'm a massive fan of all of these changes. I think the only thing that's holding it back for me is I did want to see a little bit more TV mode, but I get it. If like 80% of people don't like TV mode, then fair enough, right? You can't please everybody. And look, they've got the Arpeggio update coming in, so you know what? Maybe that's going to scratch that itch. But that being said, let me know how you guys feel about this absolutely jam-packed update. This is the end. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.